Hello and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Radio Works World, and I am Marion Bevington, your vision host. And today I want to talk about you. Today I want to talk about your light, that you shine, whether you try to or not. You can't help it. You exist. You are starlight. You are made of stardust. We all are. The whole planet is. It's just a piece of a star that was born. And so am I. And so are you. And so understanding how you can shine light, your light, in a way that brings you more peace, more vibrancy, more energy, more joy. Because joy for me is the reason that I am here. And I believe it's the reason that you're here, but I don't know for sure. I only know why I think I'm here. And I'm here to find joy. And joy does not only exist in what's judged as positive, in what's judged as pleasant, in what's judged as good. Joy exists in all situations. The enjoyment of being means all states of being. So when I enjoy being, then I enjoy being happy. I enjoy being sad. I enjoy being miserable. I enjoy being angry. I enjoy being insulted. I enjoy being accused. I enjoy being admired. I enjoy being honored. All of these states, all of these judgments or labels or ideas that make up life, all of them are here. They're all true in any one moment. If I'm angry, then I'm angry. Or if I'm hungry, then I'm hungry. Or if I'm cold, then I'm cold. If I'm hot, then I'm hot. So how to find joy as the state that lives inside of me constantly, and it's there, regardless of this sense of cold or hot or anger or sadness. So finding that place, that way to be in joy is my journey. That's me. That's who I am. And right now, and it might change tomorrow, I don't know. Because again, part of my joy is that I live in a place of change where change is constant. And so this, for me, when I first heard about this state of joy, before I really connected to what it means for me, I was very confused. So hopefully you're very confused. Either you're very confused or you're with me. Or maybe you're transcended already and you're enlightened and joy is everywhere already. So this whole idea of being enlightened, it means full of light. So shining that light, and joy for me is the source of light in me. When I'm full of joy, when I'm connected to that joy, when I'm aware of that joy, even if I'm angry or insulted or whatever I'm feeling, then that joy shines through. It shines through everything. It's the authenticity of me. It's the pure me. It's the self with a capital S. There's lots of different ways to talk about it. It's the part of me that's connected to pure consciousness. It's the spark of God. It's the spark of the universe, whatever it is that you want to use, words you want to use to describe it. This is the source of the being that I am. But then all of the other parts, they're just part of this life. They're part of this material life. So, with the idea of, being happy or sad or all of those feelings, they're part of this material life that happens. Because would you agree that when you're in a mood, shall we say, so when I'm in the mood of resentment, or I'm in the mood of anger, or I'm in the mood of happiness, this mood is something that's very transient. It's temporary. It moves. It never stays the same for very long. And there's a really beautiful practice. There's a Buddhist meditation practice. It's called Vipassana. And Vipassana, it's really powerful, because you do Vipassana for 10 days, and it's 10 days in silence. It's crazy. So you're in silence for 10 days. You are, you can talk to a teacher. You're given the opportunity to talk to a teacher once or twice a day. And the silence is not only verbal silence, but it's also a type of a visual silence. You're not allowed to look at anybody. So there's no eye contact. There's no gesturing. You basically bring all of your attention inside yourself for the whole 10 days. And during that 10 days, you discover so much about yourself. You discover how constant this voice is inside your head for some people, or for other people. Like for me, I've got there's so many sensations that happen in my body that I'm unaware of. And so finding that these sensations that happen in my body, the voices in my head, these are all parts of what make up the mood that I'm in. So for example, if I'm in a state where there is any kind of anxiety, so when I'm anxious, I find that there's this kind of wriggling, this physical squirming that happens. There's a discomfort physically in the body. It feels uncomfortable, and you're trying to wriggle out of something. But also in anxiety, there's this like dread sense in my head. Oh no, this impending doom, this voice of, oh, what's going to happen? It's all very scary, or it's really, it's not nice. This worry. So there are so many different things happening when I'm in a particular mood. And every time I'm in that mood, the same things keep happening. So with Vipassana, what it gave me, the beautiful gift it gives, is that you can start to witness what this body and this mind are experiencing. So you can begin to observe yourself rather than being only connected to the body and the physical squirming or the noise in the mind. Rather than being only those, it's as if you split into the part that's watching and only watching. And then what it watches is it watches the judgments, it watches the noise, the mental noise, it watches the physical responses to sensations, it watches the sensations, it watches. This part of me can watch so many things, and I can call it because right now it's not involved. In fact, it is never involved. The part of me that watches, the observer part of me, it only watches. It doesn't judge. It doesn't watch and go, oh, that's good and that's bad. It watches the part of me that says that's good and that's bad. It watches the body as the body squirms. It watches this, or it senses it's aware of is better than it watches actually, or it observes. It's aware of and it observes the sensations in the body that are making the body squirm. And so this watcher, this observer, this consciousness, in yoga we call it purush. And the purush it's the observer, it's the consciousness of everything, the thing that is aware. And the thing that is aware, it doesn't do anything. It just is. And it just is aware. It's always there. It's the part of me that's constant. So I remember when I was 7, and the days before my 7th birthday, I was getting really excited because it felt like there was something really special about being 7, something that meant I was going to be a bigger girl. So I would be able to say, I'm a big girl now, I'm 7. And I remember the thought, I remember it really clearly. And one of the reasons I remember it so clearly was because the utter disappointment on my 7th birthday when I woke up. And I'd come around and become more conscious in myself on the 7th year of my life. Now I'm 7. And I remembered it was my birthday. And I didn't feel any different. So I was like, I don't feel like I'm a bigger girl. And I don't feel like there's anything different about me. And I don't feel there's nothing different. I'm the same as I was yesterday. And I was really upset, because I thought that when I became 7, I would become something else, but I didn't. I was the same. And this is the awareness. This is the part of me that never changes, this constant awareness. And the awareness, the consciousness, the observer, is the thing that always is. And it's what we talk about in yoga. It's the thing that's timeless, that's formless. I talked about it a few shows ago when I talked about samadhi. There's a part of me that has no name, has no form, has no time. There's no way that I can even share with you what it is. It's like it's impossible to share what it is. And yet we all have it. I am conscious, and so are you. You're listening to me now. You're hearing me. There's a part of you that is aware of, there are sounds coming from me. If you can see the video, there are visual images of me. And there is an awareness that this image has arrived, or there is an awareness that this sound has arrived. And then there are all of the other mechanisms, the mental mechanisms, the psychological mechanisms, the biological mechanisms, all of these other mechanisms that are playing in this body, in this existence of who I am right now, of who you are right now in this physical existence, in this physical form. All of these other mechanisms that make this physical being, that make this life, that make these states of the states of anger that I started off talking about, these states of sadness that I started off with, the hot and the cold, all of these other things that happen to this physical form and are observed by this consciousness. These are just all different parts of who I am right now, of who you are right now. And the part of it that in my studying, in my working life, in my playing life, in all of my life, the part that I'm constantly in awe of, I'm constantly chasing it. I want to know it. I want to know more about it. But it's the thing that's watching everything. It's always there. It can't not be there. So I might be chasing it, but it's like I'm chasing my tail because it's there. There's consciousness there. And there's consciousness everywhere. So this bowl is conscious. It's made from minerals that come from the ground. There's the consciousness in the ground. The sun is conscious. The planet is conscious. The universe, everything is consciousness. And I, in my form, in this body, it's just a play of consciousness. I'm part of the game. I'm a toy produced by consciousness. And consciousness can be, if that's the part that can be called God or the universe or universal energy or the universal form, that this consciousness, this is the thing that always is, always was, always will be. Timeless, formless, nameless, all these other things. You can't. There's some other great words that are used to describe it. Omniscient. Like, what the hell does that mean? Omniscient. It's everywhere, in all time, in all space. It's everywhere. Omniscient. It was one of my, when I first understood what it meant, it's like, wow. But actually, I don't really understand what it means, because for this mind that I have, the part of me that does the understanding, it's not capable of getting the whole picture when it comes to consciousness. It's just not capable of it. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter how brilliant we are. It doesn't matter how intelligent we are. It doesn't matter how clever we are. We'll never know everything. Nobody will ever know everything. There is too much to know, far too much to know. And it doesn't matter if, you know, my head might grow to 20 meters wide. My mind might grow in, you know, gigabytes and terabytes of processing capacity, but it doesn't matter. It could grow infinitely, and there will never be enough capacity to know everything. And one of the beautiful parts of with quantum physics, so quantum physics is trying to describe the infinitely small or the infinitely large, because normal rational physics gets all the stuff in between. And so there are all these laws and rules that seem to be upheld when we look at this, you know, the physical world that we live in. Or we look at the into the electricity and all of the waves and the microwaves and stuff that is not really physical. When we start looking at the smallest particles or the vastness of the whole of space, then these same laws, these physical laws, they don't work anymore. They seem to get broken. And so quantum physics is trying to understand what's outside of our rational laws. What happens when we go into something that's so small that it doesn't obey the physical laws that we have now, the physics that we have now. And with quantum physics, what has started to become very clear is that while we keep looking, we will keep finding. So what do I mean by that? While we keep looking, we'll keep finding. So for example, there's that CERN thing in Switzerland, isn't it? That they've got that huge thing under the ground in Switzerland where they are bombarding atoms together. So they're trying to smash atoms up because they want to see what are the atoms made of. So they find out what they smash the atom, and then they go and find all the little particles that have been a result of the smashing up of an atom. And they find all the little particles, and they go, okay, so what happens if we smash up one of these particles? And then they find more particles. And then what happens if I smash? So it doesn't matter how much smashing apart we do. We keep finding the next littlest thing. And then we'll smash that, and we find the next littlest thing. And they're looking for this thing called the God particle. But they just keep finding. So while we keep looking, we will always find. And this is the play of consciousness. Well, this is my understanding with my limited mind and my crazy imagination. We just keep finding more and more, and it doesn't matter how deep we look, there's going to be something below it. It doesn't matter how high we look, there's going to be something above it. So this idea that we will eventually find everything or the end of something, that idea is wrong. It's not true, because it's never yet happened that we get to the end of something and then there's nothing else there. It's like nothing doesn't exist. That's a really weird double negative, isn't it? But nothing doesn't exist. We can't get to nothing. I mean, with mathematics, we use the zero to represent nothing, but zero exists. It's trying to represent nothing, but actually in mathematical terms, it exists. It has an impact on things, because when you start adding zero into equations, it makes a difference to the equations. So it must exist because it's making a difference. If it was nothing, how could it make a difference? It's all very confusing, isn't it? I've gone right down some rabbit's hole today, haven't I? Thank you, Marina. You really did. You tripped my mind out today. I've gone off somewhere crazy. So where was I? So enjoyment. So back to enjoyment. So I associate this much bigger part of myself, my higher self, my universal self. You know that beautiful saying by Rumi, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are an ocean in a drop. The ocean is vast, it's infinite, it's endless. I don't know where the boundaries are. This physical mind will never find the boundaries because while it keeps looking, it will keep finding. And so there's no end to this ocean that I am. Because outside of this material form, outside of the material sense of me, I don't even know how to get there. My mind can't conceive of it. I believe that I have faith that there is a much bigger spiritual aspect of who I am that maybe it doesn't need to know. I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't care. But there's a part of me that wants to know. There's a bit of me that thinks I'm clever and I'm intelligent and I should know because, you know, I'm good at maths or I'm good at computing or I'm very, you know, I love philosophy and I just want to know stuff. But that part of me that wants to know, actually, when I look deeply into that part, why does it want to know? And usually all I can find is it wants to know because it wants to feel better, or it wants to feel clever, or it wants to feel important, or it wants to feel satisfied. But the fact that it wants something means that it doesn't believe it has it. So that part of me doesn't believe I'm clever enough, doesn't believe I have enough, doesn't believe I'm satisfied enough. And there's a part of me that knows that I am enough. There's a huge part of me that knows that I am enough. I don't have to be clever. I am valuable, full stop. I am worth it, full stop. I don't need to compare my value to anything or anybody or any amount of information or any amount of anything. There's no need for that. And sadly, we are in a world that is so programmed to keep striving for something else, to keep fighting for a cause of some kind, or to keep on struggling with things, or to keep on trying to prove things. And in all of that keeping on, there is no space for, I'm here. I am. Just being. And being in unconditional love. And this unconditional love, with no judgment, with no good, with no bad, it's just unconditional. It has no conditions. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no rights, there's no wrongs. And that unconditional love, that's the consciousness. That's the conscious awareness. And unconditional love, we talk about it, but again, our limited mind, it cannot know unconditional love in a way that it understands unconditional love. Where we can get to know unconditional love is having an experience, is allowing ourselves to be, just be. Because that allowing, my understanding, my opinion, is that real allowing, true allowing. That's what the observer does. It just allows, it doesn't judge, it just watches, it observes, it senses, it's aware of, it's conscious of, it's unconditional love, it's completely allowing. Whatever happens, happens. There's no reason for me to judge. It never judges. But these mechanisms that I live with, the programs that I'm programmed with, the society that we live in, the way that the current physical world that I'm in is constructed, it's full of programs, it's full of mechanisms, and none of those are the truth, because the truth is consciousness. The truth is unconditional love, ever lasting, never changing, constant. And it's the only constant is consciousness, the only constant awareness. That's the only constant there is. And my work, my play, my life is all in the direction of realizing this consciousness, this awareness, this unconditional love. And yet this physical form and this physical mind and this physical body and all of this stuff, they've just got, they might get a tiny little part of an atom. What are they called? They've got neutrons and croutons and protons. That much is all my mind can fathom of unconditional love, of consciousness, because it's too vast, it's too big. And if I keep looking, I will keep finding. Oops, and there's the telephone, and it's going to go off on the answer phone now. So that was a good time to stop, wasn't it? Because we're back at unconditional love. So Marina, come and join me. Come and join me. Are you there? So I know, while I wait for Marina, I'm going to, let's just go inside. Let's go into yourself and just listen for a moment. Hello, beautiful. You're back, I see.
I was here all the time enjoying your wisdom, and you're so uniquely, wonderfully crafted, because it is something that you are born with, and perhaps you've been wasting a lot of years doing computers and programming computers, and then you die.
I wouldn't say wasting. It's helped me to really, you know, the work that I do now is really supported by my understanding of programs and things. So I wouldn't say I've wasted it, but it was nowhere near as much fun as the life I have now.
Yes, no, I understand that. It's just, I think that each individual is like a karmic coin. On one facet is who you are now, and on the other one is who you were before. Mm-hmm. And without that side of the coin, you are not a karmic coin anymore. You have to have the two. You have to have your past to have your present.
Absolutely.
But it's not what I meant. I meant that so many people could have really, really get their lives to a different level, into a different light, if you want, if you did not have to invest all those years into computers, and you could invest into people like you do now. Mm. So for me, it's no question that only by mastering your gift you could bring yourself into your own light. Mm. There is no such thing like you discover something overnight, or you become something overnight. Or I remember when a famous person said to me, "So what, this happened to you overnight?" I said, "No, didn't. Took me a few decades to get where I am." And that's the truth. People forget that nobody can make you. Nobody can make you who you are. Nobody could make you do something or be something.
Mm.
They forget that it's you who craft yourself in a way that is beneficial to your own development. And I don't necessarily think that I understand everything you are saying. I'm learning a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think there are choices you make in life, and I'm coming from a very transactional life, from where I learn a lot. And I learned that unless you invest in yourself, you say yes to yourself, you can't expect others to invest in themselves and say yes to themselves. So for me, it's all about people, including myself, pay for what they value, and they value what they pay for. So if I invest in myself and I learn something new, or I listen to your show, or it's because I value myself.
Mm.
And what I learn from you is that I own my own light.
Mm-hmm.
And when that light comes into the spotlight, becomes even more powerful and helps. It's almost like a two-way street. You can't expect to have the light unless you are lighting. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I light, the more, it's because it's that abundant place, which is your gift, is your abundant divine essence, that the more you give, the more you have.
Yeah.
And is that idea that you are the ocean within your own drop.
Mm-hmm.
And an ocean could take so many boats and people and accommodate without feeling that, oh, it's too crowded.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless how many people are coming into your life, they're coming because they need something, and what you have is exactly what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you promoted this idea that actually you are making the difference for yourself to be able to become the best you could be.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to understand, because I thought you are making the difference and you have to make it sustainable to help others. But the truth is that you cannot help anyone unless you help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not in a very strict sense that you have to. We used this before, and I heard it. I heard other people saying that in an airplane, you first put the mask on yourself, so you have enough oxygen to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So it works that way, basically. You really cannot, or you cannot be expected, or it's not possible, it's not sustainable for you to help others unless you develop yourself first.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very grateful for everything you teach. And each time I listen to your show, I'm thinking, why is not this taught in schools? Why we keep you as a best kept secret? Why don't we share, all of us, like all the time, so people know there is more to who they are and who they could be, and it's nothing to do with anyone else.
Absolutely. What's really important that, and this for me was one of my very biggest lessons, and this was one of the things that did happen like in an instant for me, was a realization that actually I can't change anybody else. And if I focus on worrying about other people changing, or if I focus on what other people are doing, I'm not doing my work. And that everybody has their own journey, and it doesn't matter how shit I think that journey is. I can judge other people's journey as very bad, either for themselves or for me, but my judgment of their journey is bad. Firstly, it's none of my business. And secondly, it's making me go into a bad place if I have a negative judgment about somebody. And me being in a bad place when I'm thinking about something that's none of my business because I want somebody else to change and I can't live their life for them. And I don't actually know the path that they're on. I don't know where they've come from. I don't know where they're going to. I don't know where. I can't mind read. I don't want to. I think I can sometimes, but I don't really want to. But all of this understanding, and this really was a massive shift for me, because I'm from a big family and I always wanted my family to admire me and I wanted my family to love me and I wanted them to never disapprove of me. And I wanted them to be, you know, the ones who were alcoholics, I wanted them to stop being alcoholics. The ones who were violent, I wanted them to stop being violent. The ones who were victims, I wanted them to stop. But all of me wanting all of that, all that meant was I was feeling shit and I was never taking care of my own work. And that, for me, that happened in India, in the school, the yoga school that I went to. And it took me a few weeks to kind of come out of the shock, because I realized I'd lived over 40 years of my life thinking that other people should be doing stuff when actually it's none of my business. And if I was not worrying, then people can see what it's like when you don't worry. And they might copy me, and that's cool. Because that's where the giving and receiving really takes place. When I'm just being me, I am automatically giving out my light and I'm receiving whatever comes back. But the more open I am to what's there and the less judgments that I have to what's there, then the more I'm receiving back, because my judgments just blocked me and the worry it made me sick. Effectively, it physically made me sick. So for me, that realization that everyone is on their journey, I've got no right to tell anybody what to do. And actually, I need to look after me, because when I'm in the best possible place, then I can share real wisdom. Then I don't have to share it. It automatically shines out of me. And so most of the lessons that I've learned, it's taken time and it's taken energy and it's taken experiences. But that one for me, and I don't even remember what it was that was said, but suddenly in my mind, I realized, shit, I can't actually change them. I can't do anything for them. And then when it was turned back on me, I don't want them telling me what to do. I don't want them judging my life and telling me that it's not right. Even if I am being an alcoholic or violent or whatever I'm doing, or a hippie or, you know, a yoga addict, whatever it is, I don't want someone else telling me what to do. And I don't need them judging my life. And yet that's all I ever used to do. So for me, that was a huge wake-up call. Stop trying to change other people and get on with being yourself and learning. And then I learned that loving myself was the real goal. So once you learn how to be yourself, then you can start thinking about, wow, now I'm cool. Now I like me. I like being me, even if I'm being horrible. It's okay, because if it feels authentic, that's okay. I'm just being me. If I'm in a bad mood, I can be in a bad mood. If I'm being jealous, I can be jealous. It's okay. I'm just being me. I'm just, you know, I'm having these feelings. I'm expressing them and they'll move on and something else will come up. And if I live in that space of flow and expression and allowing myself to be me, that's where I find the joy. That's where the joy of the being exists, in that place. It's so hard to describe this stuff, isn't it?
Wow, I found your energy amazing, and I think we are vibrational beings. And sometimes people might say the wrong thing, but you know, they don't mean something bad. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people say the right things, but they know they don't mean well. Mm-hmm. So it's all to do with your vibrational level. What are you willing to let go or reach out to others, and who are the others that you could be with? And you mentioned something very interesting about change. I never wanted to change anyone. If anything, I wanted to get away from the people who are trying to change me. Mm-hmm. And I realized that that's not an option for somebody to change me. And I don't want to change myself, because I like myself. I love myself. And I always did. But at some point, for a couple of decades in my life, I was trying so hard to please others that I suppressed my identity in a way that is so painful just thinking about that.
Mm.
And when I see people who think very little of themselves, when I see people how amazing they truly are and how they cannot see that, I'm thinking maybe I could just share my story so they could get inspired and see and start seeing who they are before they look around and see that actually you are so unique. You are just not going to be born again, ever.
And sharing from that place of unconditional love, sharing where there is something about a person that we are aware of, that, you know, we are conscious of this. And when we can connect that into pure consciousness, that's where unconditional love is. And the unconditional love is, I love you. It's like with namaste. Namaste is a beautiful blessing. It says, the light inside me sees the light inside you, and it knows that we are the same. So whether you are a murderer, whether you are a victim, whether you are a bully, whether you are smelly, whether you are fat, whether you are skinny, the light inside me and the light inside you are the same. And we can love from that place to that place. And we can be mean to each other, and we can be judgmental, and we can do all of those other things. But to come back to this deep heart-centered or consciousness-centered unconditional love, I think, and this to me is the beauty of the work that you do, Marina, because there is a very deep spiritual space that you hold open for people to be themselves, to express themselves, and to shine from their heart. And yet we all get caught up in the game, the Maya, the play, you know, the judgment and the good and the bad and the don't want to be's and the do want to be's and the worries and all of those other things. That's the play, that's the game of life. But to start to bring our awareness back to this constant, beautiful, unconditional love, that's the way to survive, isn't it? That's the way to thrive. That's the way to enjoy life. Because there's all this stuff's going to keep happening up here. But when we can really connect to that deep, dark, lovely, beautiful, well, it's not dark, it's bright, actually, that deepest, brightest spiritual centers that we have, this blessing that Namaste brings to us, from there, that's where the deep joy lives. And it doesn't stop all of this life and this craziness and this judgment and this good and bad and hot and cold and smelly and fat. It doesn't stop it all. But they all exist at the same time.
I meant to say that there is no such thing like reconnecting, because you are actually never disconnected.
Absolutely.
You are just in a trance.
You get lost. Yeah, the trance is up here, lost up in.
Yeah, so that trance is a choice.
Yeah.
When people are talking about unconditional love, I don't really grasp that, because cannot be different kind of loves. Even people are thinking, oh, I love my children a different way, then I love my neighbors, then I love my whatever it is, yes? But actually, unless you love yourself and you love others the same way, it doesn't matter they're your children or your neighbors, the same way you love yourself, there is no love. It's all semantics.
This conversation is very difficult because the word love that we have, it's not, for me, it's not a representation of what unconditional love is anyway. Love is, it's bound in so many conditions, or we create it, it's a feeling, so for me, the way that we use the word, I mean, I never use it correctly when I use the word love. You know, I love cappuccino.
Yes, sometimes because the locals will tell you, people who never met, like the taxi driver, okay, love, you know. And for me, it's such a massive relief that basically they are saying the exact things that matters.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't know you, but I call you love because this is all you have.
And this is like namaste. Hello, love.
And exactly that, precisely that. So I don't think love is just a feeling like any other feeling, like an emotion. I think love is a way of life.
It is life. I think that's for me. It is life. That's all life is. is love.
Yes. And then for the people, for our listeners who perhaps are thinking that
But we're mad.
we're mad and we had a prep for this. We never prep anything. These are just great conversations from two different points of view, very, very different. And that makes us so beautifully working together and speaking together and sharing together, simply because I believe that you cannot reinvent yourself. You cannot find out who you are. You cannot search for yourself. All you have to do is to deliver yourself, because you are already there. So whatever conditioning or social conditioning or limiting beliefs are affecting you at the time, it will come a moment in your life when you'll realize who you truly are. When all the clay layers and all the mask and all they drop, and you realize that actually only matters what I think of myself. Everything else is just a waste of time. It's none of my business what other people think of me, and my only business is what I think of myself.
Absolutely.
I'm leaving you with this.
That it's not even what I think of myself. My only business is being.
Yes, but to be, you really have to drop the to do, and you have to think of yourself as a human being. This is what I meant. So it's not, I'm not a human doing. That's a fact.
Yes.
Because I've been a human doing, and I was ready to die. So I had nothing left after I'd done everything.
No, it nearly killed me as well, all that doing and thinking.
So what's the point in doing anything unless you are who you are? And
you know what's really beautiful as well?
Embrace your truth.
There are some languages, aren't there? Like in Spanish, they have a different, they don't use the word, like with age, they say, I have 50 years old.
Yes.
I have heat. So they don't say I am, they use different ways to express the things that are around us that we describe ourselves through. And I think that actually makes for a very different way to understand yourself.
Yeah, that's it. I think what you are teaching is very enlightening, and even for the people who, like myself, are coming, out of curiosity to see what is out there in your own mind, it is an adventure for me. I can't say. I think there is. I always listen to the show again and again because I liked something, but I couldn't grasp it. But doesn't mean I'm going to start practicing yoga because I don't care about yoga. But it doesn't mean I don't want to know. It doesn't mean that yoga is the only way of understanding there is more to life. There is more than 10% of your brain capacity that could be put to a very good use. Doesn't mean any of that. That means that we are all unique and different. Each one of us is very, very different, and each one of us knows what they need. And for the people who think that others don't know and they know better, that's they have to think again, because there are choices. And all I want actually through Radio W.O.R.K.S World and with the amazing teachers and speakers and radio presenters and reporters coming along is for them to use the show as a small hinge for this huge gigantic doors into their own heart, and show that actually the only door which is never going to close again is the door to your own heart. And all you have to do, or if it's about doing, is to become aware that you have doors to your own heart. And once you open those doors, the world will open for you. From both of us, until next time, being very grateful.
Me too. Thank you, Marina. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Marion. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.